Very good morning, guys. So last class, we have just been completed talking about properties and how the properties are set. How to set the properties? Very simple. Select a control, hit F4. Launches you property window. And once the property window is launched, you can modify any property as per your choice. And whenever you modify a property, automatically, Studio writes the code for you behind the screen under a method. The method? Initialize component. It is going to write the code under a method called initialize component. And finally, that initialize component method gets called. From where is it called? The initialize component method gets called for you from the constructor. From the constructor. Basically, these two are present on two separate files of the same class. Two separate files of the same class. Where is the initialize component method? Designer.cs file. Where is the constructor.cs file? Don't prefix the name. Designer.cs. That's enough. Designer.cs will contain the constructor. Designer.cs will contain the initialize component. .cs will contain the constructor. But both are same class only. Defined on two separate files. What we calling as partial classes. So that's where we stopped with the classes. Okay. Now today, let's talk about events here. We are going to talk about events today. So as I said to you, what's an event? An event is actually a time period which tells when an action has to be performed. When exactly an action has to be performed is decided by the event actually. So I repeat, an event is a time period which tells when exactly an action has to be performed. In the sense, performing an action means, what did I say? Performing an action means executing a method. Calling a method. Actions are methods. When an action is performed in the sense, when a method is called. I repeat guys, when an action is performed in the sense, when a method is called. When exactly a method is going to be called. That's what we call as when an action has to be performed. So every method should be called. And when a method has to be called is basically what they say in the last class. I given an introduction to you. Guys, in console application, we define methods, create the object of the class and call the methods. But in GUI, we define methods, but we don't call the methods. What we do? We only bind these methods to the events. We only bind the methods to the events. And whenever the events occur, what happens? These methods will execute automatically. Okay, let me tell you in detail. In GUI programming, we define methods, but we don't call them directly. Are you clear? We don't call them directly by creating an instance of class as we do in console apps. Is the first point clear? Come on, yaar, be active. That's what I'm telling you every day. Understood? Okay. So we define the methods, but we don't call them directly. What we do? The methods we define are now bound to events. Are now bound to events of a control. Events of a control. And whenever those events occur or fire, automatically the methods gets called. Did you understand me? We bind the method. The methods we define are bound to events of a control. Every control has events now. We bind the methods to events. Whenever those events occur or fire, automatically the method gets called. Okay? Every event of a control fires or occurs at some point of time. For example, click event occurs when the control is clicked by the end user. Understood my point? Okay. Mouse over event occurs when the client puts the mouse over the control or over the object. See, I already shown you guys. Basically, you see, this is called mouse over. See, I'm putting my mouse on this. Then the message came now. That's called mouse over. Are you clear? So every event is going to be occurred at some point of time. Every event will occur for you at some particular point of time. How do I know, sir? How do I know when an event will occur? We can view the events of a control also under properties window. Last class I shown you by selecting event tab on the top of property window. There I shown you event tab, events will come. By default, what is it? Properties tab. When you select the event tab, automatically event will be shown. Okay? And when an event is selected, in the bottom of the property window, it will display when the event occurs or fires. Are you guys clearer? That's how you can know. So, let me add a new Windows form here. Actually, we added 2 forms already. One more Windows form I'm adding. Right click on the project, add. Directly, you can select a Windows form. Just like you will have a class option, Windows form option also will be there. Add it. It opens the same window. Directly form selected. Click add. In core, this GUI application framework doesn't look good here. It looks good only in framework. It takes a lot of time to load. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, just you see, this is the new form added now. Now select it, hit F4. Property window launches. Now go to events. What is that? That orange color icon, just like a thunderstorm. That's your events. Click. And these are the events. Now select any event you want. And in the bottom, you can read the description about the event. When the user loads the form, okay, same way, mouse click. The control is clicked by a mouse. When the control is clicked by a mouse over. You bring your mouse and leave it like that, like this. Now, this event will work. Same way, mouse leave. The visible part of the control, when it leaves, this is going to fire. Are you clearer? Yes or not? But now our question will be how to bind a method with an event. How to bind a method with an event. Okay. How to bind a method with an event. Open framework project here. If you are facing problem with the property window, all of you, if you are facing a problem with the property window, 2020 Visual Studio. Where you got 2020 Visual Studio here? We have 19 and 22. Where you got 2020? Okay, if you are facing the problem, open a framework project here. All of you who are facing problem, I can't help you. That's a problem with the studio itself. That's nothing in my control. Only thing is, open framework projects and work. Because core and framework doesn't make any difference for us. Is that clear? So if you're facing the problem, don't open a core project, open framework project and directly work out. Windows Form .NET framework option is there, na? Use that. In that you will not face any problem at all. Okay? Or otherwise, change the version to 3.1. 6 is the default. Change to 3.1. In 3.1 also, I'm seeing so many lags in that. So better work with framework here. That's better option. Okay? Yeah. This can be done in 3 ways. You can do this in 3 ways, guys. What are the 3 ways I can do it? Okay, watch it, all of you. Option 1. You have a form. Every form is a class, right? You know how to write code in a class. Can you write a method in the class? Go write a method in the class. Go write a method in the class. Now come here. Now come here. And what you do, you know? Suppose you want the method to be executed in the load event. You want the method to be executed in the load event. Type the method name here. Type the method name here. Your method name is a test. Type the method name here. First go and write the code here. Come here. Enter the method name. That's all. These two are bound with each other. Did you understand or not? Yes or not? What you require to do first? Define the method. Come here. Specify the method name there. Event and method are bound with each other. That's one way you can do. Second option. Did you write the method now? Yes, sir. When did you write? I did not write it. Did you write? Now only you added the form and you're telling yes, sir. You did not write the method still. Yes or not? We did not write the method still. I said, you write the method, come and type the name. We did not do that. I did not write the method. Okay, you did not write the method now. Okay, then type the method name there. Just watch. Type the method name there and hit enter. It will generate the method for you. That is the beauty of Visual Studio. Are you clear? With what name? With what name you are given? The same name only. What name you are given? Test. With the same name only, it is generating the method also for you. Are you clear? So the method is bound with, the event is bound with this method. Okay? I'll delete it, guys. I'll delete it. Only if you delete it, immediately problems will start in the designer file. You delete it, problem starts in designer file. Come here. Events, delete. You delete it here. When you delete here, come here and delete the method also. Just, I deleted everything, that's all. What is generated, deleted. Did you understand the process? Type the method name. Initially, this is the only code you find. Now I type the method name there, automatically the method got generated. This is the second option. Third option. Don't type any method name. Don't type any method name. Directly double click on the event. Don't type any method name. Directly double click on the event. It will generate you a method. It will generate you a method. What is the name of the method? The method name will be control name underscore event. What's your control name? Form 3. The control name is form 3 underscore. Which event? Load. So that is the name of the method. See, watch it. Double click. That is what we generally do in the real time. That is what we generally do in the real time. We simply double click, and once you double click, the method is generated for you automatically. And once the method is generated for you, you can start writing the code, because so many events are there here. This naming policy is very perfect. Understand? You're given the name as a test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. Which method executes for which controls event? But see the naming policy now. Tomorrow, after 1 year, you look into the code also, you'll understand that form 3 underscore load means this will execute when the form is loaded. Form 3 underscore click. This executes when we click on the form. Now you see button 1 underscore click. The method executes when the button 1 is clicked now. Are you clear? Button 3 underscore double click. The method executes when we double click on button 3. Did you understand the naming policy? What is the naming policy? The name of the control underscore event. So this is the mechanism what we follow in the real time. Are you clear? So now the method is generated. When this method will execute? When the form is loaded. When the form is loaded. When will the form load? When you run the project, form gets loaded. When the form is loaded, the method gets executed. Shall we write some code in it now? Okay, if you want to display any message in the console application, how did you write the code? Console.writeLine. But here there is no console, or you cannot call console.writeLine. In Geo application, information is always displayed in a message format. A message box we call. We call it as a message box. There we have a class called console and a method called writeLine. Here we have a class called message box, and that has a method called show. What is the class name? Message box. Method name? Show. You can just call that message box dot show. When you call the message box dot show, the message gets displayed for you on screen. Watch it. Message box is the class show. Load event got occurred. Run this now. Oh, did we set our startup form? Go to program class, and here we're required to specify the name of the form. Run F5. Got it? That is your message. So this got executed for you. Open, yeah, the form loaded. And when the form is loading, the message will be displayed to you now. Okay? Now see, this is my control. When I click on this, I want to show you a message. What message? You have clicked on the form. You have clicked on the form. That is the message I want to show. Where should I write the logic now? Click event now. Which event? Click event. Same process. What you will do? Go to design view. Go to design view. What is happening with this? Okay, go to design view. Hit F4. Go to events. Double click on click event. Double click on the click event. That's it. Method generated. Double click on the click event and it generates you the method for you. And now you can start writing the code inside of that method. What's it? Okay, just let us leave it as click event got occurred. Watch. When you run this, load event will occur for you one time. Load happens one time only. But what about click? What I said here. Did you call the method? We did not call the method. We bound the method with the event and left it. Now it is the develop. Now it is the end user's chance. Now the end user's call. What is that? Whether this method should be executed or not executed, or there is a chance of the developer, sorry, the end user to choose. The end user don't want the method to execute. Don't click on that, it won't execute. Don't click here, it won't execute. The end user want the method to be executed for one time. Click on the form for one time, the method executes. The end user wants the method to be executed for 10 times. Click on the form for 10 times, it will execute for 10 times. See, now I don't want the method to execute. Don't click. Did not execute now. I want the method to be executed for one time. Open it. And now you click on the click event got occurred. Is that clear? Okay, click event got occurred. So the event is occurring for you at this place now. Okay. And another thing you say? What's it? What's it? You just don't want, okay. How many times you click? That many times the code gets executed. See, one time I click it, 2 times I click it, 3 times I click it. See, every time you click it is executing the logic now. Are you people clearer or not? Every time you click, it is executing the logic. How many times you click, that many number of times the logic also gets executed for you in this. So this is how exactly that happens. Am I clear? Understood with controls and events? Okay, events are part of your controls. And whenever the event is going to be firing, a method gets executed. Which method? You can bind a method with it. So for that, I said you 3 options. Either write your method and specify the method name there. Second option, type the method name and hit enter. The method is generated with that name. Third option, double click. Directly double click a method. That third one is the most easiest option. Open J. The third one is the most easiest option what we just have here. The third option. Are you clear? So simply the method, the naming policy will be like what? Control name underscore event. Control name underscore event. Is it mandatory? Not at all, guys. You can change off these names if you want. But the point I'm trying to tell you is, if so tomorrow 30-40 methods are generated like this, how do you understand which method is bound with which event? By looking at the name only, you can understand. Are you clear? There is a method called textbox1 underscore key press. What is the meaning? This method will execute when a key press event occurs in the textbox1. Got it? There is a method called button1 underscore click. Easily you understand. This method gets executed when the button1 is clicked. Form load. The method executes when the form is loaded. To understand that naming policy will be followed. Okay, fine. Now, let me explain you about this one, guys. What's it? We are using an automated way of generating this methods and doing it. But tomorrow, if at all I need to do manually, means what I wanted to tell you is how exactly these methods are getting executed. We are not calling them at all, but still they are getting executed. How exactly these methods are going to be executed, how this will happen. Okay, we'll try to write manual coding and understand for that. We'll try to write manual coding and understand this. Last day we created a form 2, na? Okay, we'll say form 3 then. A new form I'm creating. Can you tell me the basic code for creating the form first? Just to create a form using system. Next. I want to set some colors and all, so I'm using drawing. Next. Windows dot forms, not forms. System dot windows dot forms is a namespace. Public class form 3 colon form. See here, I'm using a normal class. It's not a partial class. But studio, partial class. A normal class or a partial class, both are class only. No difference. Next. If you want to write an initialization code, where to write? Constructor, public, form 3. I want to go for setting a caption. This dot text is equals to form 3. I want to set a back color. I wanted to set a size. Okay, now what next? Static void main. Now create the instance and run it. Application dot run new form 3. Alright, this is how I shown you first now. Okay, if you run now, the code should execute. CSC form 3 dot CS. It has been set with some background color, size and all, title. Okay. But what did I explain you in the last class? If it is Studio, Studio won't write like this. Where Studio writes this code? Studio puts all this code under a method. What is the method name? Initialize component. Initialize component. Under initialize component, all this logic will be. It's called as what? Designer code. Okay, na? And finally, that initialize component method will be used there. So, sir, should I to write the method with the same name? No, yeah. What Studio follows, I said you, that's all. You want to write a method with your own name, no problem at all. You're calling the method. The method, say, you're writing a method. If it is implicitly called, then naming should be same only. But implicitly called or explicitly called? Tell me. Explicitly called. When explicitly called, what is the name of the method doesn't matter here now. You write any name, no problem. But Studio follows it. I said you, that's all. So up to here, I explained to you in the last class now. Up to here, I explained in the last class. Now guys, now here also, when the form is loaded, can you show me a message? Just like in the Studio, here also, when the form is loaded, can you show me a message or not? I want it. If that is the case, actually, how are we going to do that? We need to do two things, guys. One, you're required to write the method. Manual code, no Studio will not generate. You only should write your method now. Point clear? Let's write a method. Private void form 3 underscore load. Okay. And actually, I'm passing two parameters to this. I'll explain you. What are the two parameters? One is object sender. Second one is event args E. We'll talk about that. Don't worry. Okay. And I'm writing message box dot show load event got occurred. If you write a method like this, that won't execute. Why? You're writing a method, but where is it called? It is not called anywhere. But here, what is our plan? Not calling binding to event. That is our plan. Correct? Okay, we'll do it. And now you see, the code did not execute. The code did not execute. Why? Binding is not done. So the binding should be done. How to do the binding? Watch it. This refers to your form. Your binding is to form only, na? Correct? Dot. Which event? Which event, yeah? Load. That's all. Load is your event. Plus is equals to, okay, new event handler form 3 underscore load. This is a binding. I'll explain you. Each and everything I'll explain you there. Hold on. We'll just talk on this. This is the binding. And once I do this, come here. Got it? The code got executed or not? The code got executed for you and displayed the message. So this is the binding. This is the binding. Here you'll have a doubt. Sir, what is this? This is your form. Array, this is your control, your form. Next, load is your event. Okay, this is clear. What is the event handler? And this, we know this also. What is this? Method. Method name, guys. Our all doubt will be, what is this? That's a delegate. That is a delegate. We call that as a delegate. So that's a delegate actually behind the skin which executes the logic. Okay. Well, I'll tell you guys how exactly is this going to happen. We'll talk on this. Okay. Now, when you double click, guys, when you double click, what did I say? All the methods are generated to you. You can go and write the logic there. When you double click, you can go and write the logic. This only explained here. Simply what I said is add a form, go to property window, double click on load, one method generated, write this code. What code? Welcome to Windows application. Same way, double click on click event and write this code. Can you do that? Are studio, in the studio, not in the notepad. Okay. Now the question is all about this. What happens? Are you clear? When you double click, what exactly happens? When you double click, what exactly happens? Understood my point? Okay, what happens when we double click on an event? What happens when we double click on an event? When we double click on an event, what exactly going to happen? So, when you double click on an event, two actions are performed here. When you double click on an event, two actions are performed. What are the two actions? Action 1 generates a method in the .cs file to write the code. Generated na? When you double click, one method got generated na? Generates a method for writing the code. Okay, just a second. What is the question? What happens internally when we double click on an event in property window? You are double clicking on event in the property window and we are trying to learn what exactly happens. Okay. When we do this, internally two actions are performed. First one generates a method in the .cs file. Generates a method in the .cs file for implementing the logic. And we call these methods as what do you call that method? That's a normal method only here. No, nothing different. But there's a different name there. That's all. What is that? Event procedures or event handlers. We call them as an event procedure or event handlers. Are you getting my point here? So this is the first thing that happens. And already we saw that and we already implemented the code in that also. Second, under designer.cs file, it generates a binding statement. It generates a binding statement for executing the method, when the occurs. Carefully read, guys. Under designer.cs file, it generates a binding statement for executing the method when the event occurs. It's going to generate a binding statement for executing this. Okay. So how exactly all these things happens means, look at this. This is your control. Any control here. Now form is your control. Tomorrow it can be a button or text box. Under this control, events are present. Event. Under the control, what we have? Event. Now this control is bound with a method. This control is bound with a method. What do you call the method? Event handler or a event procedure. We call it as an event procedure or event handlers, whatever it is. We call this methods as event procedure or event handler. Whatever it is, you can just call it as an event procedure or a event handler. Okay. Now, what do you have? You have a event procedure here or event handler here. What are you doing? You're binding these two, right? You're binding these two. What are you doing? You're binding these two. Bind. You're binding these two with each other. The event procedure is bound with the event. Okay. Now, in the runtime, event occurs. Event occurs based on the user actions now. Load or click or whatever it is. Event occurs. When the event occurs, the method should be executed. The method should be executed. Okay. The event occurred now and we want the method to be executed in this context. So this is the method which should be executed. But guys, remember, if a method has to be executed, it should be called. If a method has to be executed, it has to be called. And how to call a method? I remember in this week only, I explained you this. What is that? You can call a method in two ways. Methods are called in two ways. Option 1, by using instance of the class, if it is non-static, name of the class, if it is static. That is the first option. We learned it long back. Second, by using a delegate. The second way of calling is by using a delegate. There should be a delegate. Static methods, non-static, anything can be called by using a delegate. Delegate call. Okay. Now, if I want to execute a method for multiple times, what is the best way to call it? Direct call or delegate caller? If I want to execute a method for multiple times, what is the best option? Option 1 or option 2? Delegate call or direct caller? Delegate call, that's what we already discussed here. When you call a method for multiple times, if you have a delegate call, single stack will be there and the method executes for multiple times now. Now these methods will execute only for one time or multiple times. The user can click on the button for 100 times here. So the method executes for 100 times. So these methods are executing for one time or multiple times. Multiple times. So what is the best way to call now? By using normal call or delegate caller? Fast. Delegate call. The delegate call is the best way of executing this now. Okay. So these events will internally use a delegate to call the method. These events will internally use a delegate to call a method. You'll have a delegate basically. You'll internally have a delegate, guys. And these events are going to invoke the delegate. These events are going to invoke the delegate. Means when the event occurs, the event will invoke the delegate. This delegate will come now and executes the event procedure. Watch this picture. This is your control. This is your, when the event occurs, when will the event occur? I shown you now. When the event occurs, it will call the delegate. Now the delegate goes and executes the event procedure or the method that is bound with the event. Which method it executes? What method is bound? That method gets executed. What method is bound? That method gets executed. So what is your job? Your job is very simple here. You bind it with the event and leave it. That's all. Rest of the things will be taken care by the studio. The rest of the things should be taken care by the studio here. Your job is simple. What's your job? Double click, write up the code. That's all. But the rest of the things will be taken care by whom? Studio will take care. Means behind the screen, there is a delegate to run this code. Behind the screen, there is a delegate to run this particular code. Okay, that's why I did not explain you delegates earlier. That's why I explained you delegates before starting with Windows programming. All these are interconnected with each other. So whenever the event occurs, the event never calls a method directly. The event calls a delegate. This delegate will go and execute the event procedure method for you. Which event procedure? The event procedure that is bound with the event. Are you clear? Yes or not? Now the doubt here comes is, sir, this is fine, the architecture is looking good, but how these three are connected with each other? How these three are connected with each other? Why? Event is present under control. Method is defined in my class. Where is the delegate? Did you understand the question? All are present in one place, or they're in different places? No. Where is the event? Control class. Where is the method? In my class. In my class now. And where is the delegate? That's the doubt you'll have. Okay? I'll tell you how all the things are connected with each other. Let me explain you. Listen. Event is defined in the control class. Correct? Anyhow, you are creating the control instance in your code now. In your class, you are using the control now. When you are using the control, automatically the event of the control can be used in your class now. What is that face here? I'm talking in English only. Are you using the form in your code now? Yes or not? Then you can use the event of the form also now. That's present in your code now. So event can be accessed because I'm directly dealing with a form. And this method I defined in my class. This method is defined in my class. Only question is about the delegate. Okay, I'll clarify you. Just a minute. In this architecture, how all the three are connected to each other. That is the doubt. Okay? See, events are defined under controls. And anyhow, we are consuming those controls in our code. So, events of controls are accessible to you. Did you catch my point or not? Are you consuming the control in your code or not? When you're consuming the control in the code, the event of the control is accessible to you now. Okay? What is the second thing? Method. The second thing is method. Now when you talk about the method, methods are there is no confusion here also. These methods are defined by us in our own class. The method belongs to my class only now. So is it accessible to you or not? Yes or not? Okay. Now talking about the delegates. Delegates are predefined here under the libraries of our language. Under the libraries of our language. Okay. And we can consume them by creating an instance. What do you call? Instantiation. To work with the delegate, 3 steps, remember? Step 1, define a delegate. Step 2, instantiate the delegate. Step 3, call the delegate. Now guys, step 1 is not required. Why? Delegates are predefined. So directly what you require to do? Instantiate your delegate. Now, tell me, if I tell you method name and delegate name, can you tell me the binding code, instantiation code? Friday, Saturday or Monday, I explained to you how to perform instantiation of a delegate. What I'm telling is, I will tell you method name. I'll tell you delegate name. What you must tell is instantiation code. Got it? Look here. My method name is form3_load. My delegate name is event handler. The delegate name is event handler. How do you do instantiation? Remember, we require to create an instance and pass the method name there. That's all. So event handler obj is equals to new event handler form3_load. Is it clear? Now, after creating this delegate, The third step is call the delegate to execute the method. Call the, but I'm not going to call here. Who is going to call, Event is going to call. Who is going to call? Based on user interaction, event is going to call. Because that is going to be called by the event, what I should do, I need to bind the delegate to the event now. I need to bind the delegate to the event. How to bind? Look at this. Form 3 underscore load. Sorry. Form 3 dot load. What is form 3? Your control. What is load? The event of the control. Okay. Plus is equals to obj. That is the syntax, guys. That is the syntax of binding a delegate to the event. In the first line, what is happening? Method is bound to the delegate. In the first line, what is happening? Method is bound to the delegate. In the second line, what is happening? Delegate is bound to the event. Are you clear? Can I write this code in a single line? Tell me. Okay, I did not say the form 3. You can say this dot also. Both are same only here, form 3 or this dot. Both are same. Now, I can combine these two and write in a single statement now. Array, you learned na exception ex is equals to new exception throw ex. You can directly write as throw new exception. Same way, can you merge these two into one line now? How do you write? Right or wrong? Open the mouth first. This dot, speak louder, confidently. This dot load plus equals to obj you written there, correct? What is obj? Array, obj is this one only, na? Write that directly. New event handler form 3 underscore load. The syntax is like this, guys. The syntax is like this. The binding code. The syntax is like this. What First, your control. My control is form now. So directly I'm using this. If your control is a button, you should tell the name of the button. Button 1, text box 1, checkbox 1, whatever it is. Dot. Achievement. That's what you're required to specify. Plus is equals to new. The delegate name. Here. Actually called as event handler only, guys. But unfortunately, we call them as event handlers only. But unfortunately, delegate name is also event handler. If I call that as event handler, this as event handler will be confusing. That's why I'm calling it as event procedure. Are you clear? Event procedure or event handler. But let us call it as event procedure because our delegate name is also event handler only. Delegate name is event handler. Method name is event handler. Means confusion now. That's why I'm calling it as an event procedure. Okay. So guys, observe this. This is the syntax. Now, following this, I'll tell you method name. I'll tell you method name. I'll tell you delegate name. I'll tell you method name, delegate name, and event. Can you tell me the binding code? I'll tell you all the four. Can you tell me the binding code? Okay. The control is button 1. The control is event is click. Event is click. Delegate is event handler only. Delegate is event handler. Okay. Remember the method name? I did not tell the method name. Ray, but you know the method names na. Control name underscore event is the method name. Already we talked on it. I'm telling you the control name, guys. What is the control name? Button 1. Method, event, click. Delegate, event. Now you tell me, you fill the gap, you filled it now. Now tell me. Button 1 dot. Louder. Click. Plus equals to new event handler. Button 1. Already I explained you this one. Event handler name will be control name underscore event. That already I said you. Okay. So that's the binding. Now see, your control is text box 1. Event is key press. Delegate is key press event handler. What is that? Key press event handler. Try now. Text box, one dot. What is the event? Key press. Plus is equals to new. Key press event handler. Text box 1 underscore key press. Okay. Sir, how do I know which delegate is, that's a different delegate. Here the question will be, sir, how do I know which delegate is used here? You don't require to know here. Studio writes all that code for you. Go and see in the designer.cs. That's all. I'm only explaining you. This is how it happens to you. Did you get my point or not? I'm only explaining you how this is going to happen to you. All that code will be generated to you by Studio. You don't require to remember which event, which delegate, and all the things. Who's the responsibility? Studio. But as a developer, tomorrow, don't you want to know what is happening behind the screen? Tell me. As a developer, don't you want to know what is happening behind the screen? That's what I'm explaining you. I'm not only giving, see, if I don't say about a delegate and something, simply open, double click and write up the code, my course is over. But tomorrow you go to interview and the interviewer asks you, you double click at how the code is executing behind the screen, then you don't have an answer. What's it? Double click, write off. How is it executing? I don't know. But now I'm making you comfortable to answer in that particular question. How this code executes. Behind the screen, there will be a delegate to run the code. So when I double click, what will happen? The control, the event, the delegate, and the method all are going to be bound with each other by using a statement like this. What is the syntax? Your control, your event, your delegate, your method, all are present on that line, see? Yes or not? All are present. So whenever the event occurs, it will go and call the delegate. Now the delegate will come and execute the event procedure that is bound with the event. Event procedure that is bound with the event. This is how the execution is taking place. And who writes all this code for you? Studio. If you want to see that code, how do you see? Right click on initialize component. Go to definition and check out, guys. This is what I said you already. Are you clear? And that is responsible for executing the code. So this event handler is a delegate. Check. Defined in. You remember delegate signature, delegate parameters and event handler parameters, method parameters should match now. See the delegate parameters. Same parameters are present for my method also. But what is the use? I'll tell you, they're very important for us. I'll tell you, going forward, we'll learn about each and everything. Okay? So is it clearer or not? Okay, you try any event you like. You try any event you like. Statements are generated. Let's try key press. Let us try key press. Method generated. Go to designer.cs file and see code generated or not. Delegate is different, see? What is the delegate? Key press event handler. It's a key press event handler defined in system.windows.forms namespace. This is in system, but this is in a different namespace. Am I clear? Same way, try one more. Something like a mouse click. Okay. Now come here. Delegate is different. What is that? Mouse event handler. Mouse 3 underscore, sorry, form 3 underscore, mouse click. Guys, one thing you remember, this today is your current class. That's nothing but form. But tomorrow, if you are working with a button or something, in the place of this, the name of the button will come. Button 1, text box 1, or checkbox 1, that will come. But form, you don't require to form 1 or form 2 or form 3 because your class itself is form. Did you catch my point or not? See guys, in object-oriented programming, you learned two things. You learned a point. How to consume a class. Tell me, how to consume a class? Two ways to consume a class. Option 1. In option 2, you are consuming form by inheriting today. Today, we are consuming the form control by inheriting. You are using it. So your class became form now. So that is method of your parent only. Directly we can call. But when you try to consume the remaining controls, we don't inherit. We create instance and consume. Form consumption is done by inheritance. Rest of all the other controls consumption is done by creating a instance. So when we are referring there, then the instance name should be used here. You created an instance for a button. Button 1 is equals to new button. Now how to refer to the event of the button now? Button 1 dot click. Are you clear? Here you don't refer to the instance. Why? Your class itself is a form now. It's a direct member of your parent. So straight away you can call this dot. Is it clear? Did you understand this? That is the same thing I shown you in the notepad also, guys. Observe it if you want. But I have written all the code manual on my own now. Check it out. I written an event procedure there. What is the method name? First step. Second step. See all the binding code. Can you help me now? I won't tell. You need to tell now. What's it? I want to write some code for click event now. I want to write some code for click event. What should I do first? Define a method first. Define a method. Come on, help me. Private void form 3 underscore. First tell me one thing. Private. Is it mandatory? Your choice here. You can write anything you want. Okay, void. Is it mandatory? Should I use void only? Yes, you should void only. Why? Delegate is void, guys. Delegate is void. So here also void only. Okay. Method name. What is method name? Can I change this or should I have the same name? Change it, yeah. No problem. Names doesn't require to have restriction. You can change it. But what did I say? If you change tomorrow, it will be confusion for you to understand which method is going to be executed for which event. The method names here are descriptive. After 1 year, you look into the code also, you'll understand. This method will execute for load event. This method will execute for click event. Okay, now? Next. Object. Sender. Event args A. Message box dot show. Click event got occurred. Click event got occurred. Okay. First step is completed. Second step. What is that? Binding. The second step is binding. Where? Initialize component. Go to initialize component. Do the binding. This dot. Which event? Click event. Plus equals to. Which delegate? Event handler. Method name. Form 3 underscore click. Without this code, the things won't execute. Defining method is not important. Binding is important. For binding, guys, Microsoft has given a simple interface to you. What is that? Go to the property window, type out the method name there. You're doing that's all. But when you do internally, this much code will be generated by Studio to you. Is it making your work simple or not? Did you understand the beauty of auto code generation now? If you need to do all these things, it will take a lot of time here. But Studio is telling you, don't worry, I'll do all these things for you. You simply concentrate on your logic, only your business logic. Rest of the things will be taken care by Studio. Got the point? Okay, now run this, compile it. Load event. Next. Click event. Click event got occurred. Whenever you click, it's showing you the message. Click event got occurred. Are you people clear? Read this. In the property window. When we double click on an event in property window, internally a method gets generated for writing the code or writing the logic. Okay. and we call, and that method has a special name, event procedure, which is a block of code that is bound with an event of control and gets executed when the event occurs. Did you understand that? Nothing but a block of code bound with the event of a control and gets executed when the event occurs. The code written under event procedure will be executed by the event whenever the event occurs by taking the help of a delegate as following. I shown you the picture already. Is that clear? Read this. In the above case, whenever the event occurs, it will call the, see, event occurs, calls the delegate, which then executes the event procedure that is bound with the event. This is going and executing the event procedure. Which event procedure? The event procedure that is bound with the event. All the three are connected with each other, see? Yes or not? Not all three, all four. All four are connected with, what is the fourth one? Control, event, delegate, method. Okay, delegate and method. Okay, say, in the above case, whenever the event occurs, it will call the delegate, which then executes the event procedure that bound with the event. Because a delegate is responsible for execution of the event procedure, first the control, event, delegate, and event procedure should be bound with each other as following. How to bind? Shown you the syntax already. Control dot event plus equals to new delegate of event procedure. Event procedure. And see, here are some examples for you. Already I typed and shown all things for you. I asked you and I typed it. The first one is bound with form. This means form always. Okay, don't forget it. In Windows application, this always refers to form. Okay, next. Second one is bound with a button one. Third one, text box. Third one is a text box. Read it. Events and delegates are predefined under the FCL. FCL means libraries, the framework libraries. The framework libraries. Where are events defined? Control classes. Delegates are defined under namespaces. You know that. Controls are predefined. Events are predefined. Delegates are predefined. What do you define newly here is only method. After defining the event procedure in form class, Visual Studio links the control, event, delegate, and event procedure with each other as we have seen above, and this can be found under the method initialize component of. Is that clearer, all of you? Studio is writing the code to link all these things together. Who will write that code? Who will write that code? Visual Studio will write the code. Where it writes the code? Initialize component method of designer.cs file. You will find it under initialize component method of designer.cs file. Okay. And finally, read this note, guys. One delegate can be used by multiple events to execute event procedure. You remember click and load are using the same delegate? Yes or not? Next. Array one can be used by multiple. Yeah, that doesn't mean that all will use the same thing. Different events will use different delegate. I'll give you all, I've given all examples to you already. See, for the first point, what is that? See now, click and load, you are using the same delegate. Next. Example, key press using a different delegate. Key press using a different delegate. Why, sir? Why different delegates? We'll learn. We'll learn about it. Just we are only giving you an idea about how the binding is done and all the things. Why different delegates are used? Why not the same delegate and all the things? Plus equals to is a syntax for binding. See, for everything we have a syntax here. The syntax for binding with an event is plus equal to. Are you clear? In your school days, you said is equals to is an assignment operator. Someone decided that. Okay, using this we can assign. Double equal to the comparison operator. So plus equal to is a binding operator. The plus equals to is a binding operator for binding the delegate with event. Okay. Just a minute. Before we call the delegate, now event calls the delegate. That remaining all same clear. Okay. But you don't call the delegate. You don't call the delegate. We only interact with the control. Controls events will call the delegate. Understood me? Actually, in console application, we only call the delegate here. But here we are not calling the delegate. We are interacting with the controls. Controls have events. Events will go and call the delegates. I'm not responsible to call them. But multicasting also same syntax. Plus equal to only. Why? Can't we use in multiple places? What is your concatenation operator? Plus, what is your addition operator? Plus only, na? Then what is the conflict? Overloading. There is overloading, that's all. We use it in two scenarios. For multicasting also we use plus equal to only. And for delegate event binding also we use plus equal to only. But the operator is same. Suppose even if you don't bind event fires, bind any method to load, still load event fires on. Fires here, event fires. But when there is no logic, nothing happens. Event firing will be done. But you don't do any binding, nothing will happen. See, there is a bus coming in the road. Passenger present or not, the bus will come. That's all. So what is this question is? I did not bind the method with the event. Will the event fire? Event fires. Event will fire. But there is no logic behind the skin but to execute. That's all. So the passenger present or not present or doesn't matter. There is a bus stop. Compulsory buses should come and stop in the bus stop there. No passengers, I will leave. No, you should come, stop there, and then only you need to leave the place. Are you clearer or not? Okay. So that's what here also same. Event will fire. You bind a method, don't bind a method is your choice. But event binding will be done for you. And yeah. Now the question is, sir, can I define this event procedures manually? Can I define the event procedures manually? Yes, you can define. We've done it also. We done in the notepad. I done it also. We can do it. We can bind them. We can define the event procedures manually, and we have also done that appropriating. How to do that? Why event calling delegate? Why it is not calling the method? I already said you that only. It is single caller, multiple caller. Calling is done for one time or multiple time. I asked you this particular question already. These event handler methods are executing for one time or multiple times. Multiple times execution. What is the best option? Direct caller, delegate caller. I asked you all these things and only explained you. Pavan, I already said that. It's not a single call. It's a multiple call. And multiple calls are always, delegate calls are going to the best option, not a direct call. That's the reason why it uses you delegates there. Okay. Have a look, guys. What is that? How to define an event procedure manually. How to define a event procedure manually. Already I shown you, but still have a look. I don't require to give you an explanation for modifiers. You know that. Okay. Next. Event procedures are non-value returning methods. They will never return a value. All event procedures are non-value returning method. So you can change. Normal method means I'll say void or type, but here void. Second, sorry, name, any name you like. Studio follows a convention that is not mandatory for you. Next, every event procedure should take two mandatory parameters. What are the first parameter? Object. Second parameter, event args or a child class of event args. Event args or a child class of event args. But what, sir? That all I'm telling you. I started here another 3-4 days. I'm going to explain about event procedures only. I'll tell you one by one point. What is object? What is event args? All these things. Okay. But mandatory, it should be void and it should take the two parameters. Can't we change that? No, you can't. Why? Delegates are defined with that signature. Our method signature should match with delegate. Delegates are already defined with such a signature. So compulsory, our methods also should be defined with the same signature. Read it. First point. Event procedures are. Second point. You can have any name here. Visual Studio follows a convention. What is the convention? Control name underscore event. Example, form underscore load, button underscore click, text box underscore key press. That is the naming policy. Third point. Should take two mandatory parameters, not optional, guys, mandatory. What are the two? One is of type object and the second one is type event args. Object and event args are the two things what we just have. Read this note, guys. You're writing code manually here is your choice. You're writing code manually, that's your choice. See, watch it. Here. Test block 1. Test block 2. I changed the names now, but what names you given here, the same name should be given here also. You cannot give different name there. This is test block 1 and this is text proc 2. Is it proven now? Watch, run and see. Recompile, execute. Are you clear? And how to do this manually? I given the code for you below. Okay? Try working with properties, try working with events. Next class, I'll tell you much more deep in the concept of the events. We'll talk another 2-3 days. We'll talk on these event handlers and events only because we did not cover events in object-oriented programming. Clearer? Okay? Later, I will show you how to define your own events also. We are consuming events now. We will define events also. That also I'll teach you. Okay? Let's stop here, guys. We'll meet tomorrow.